Hi, my name is Gerhard Schwadner, and welcome to our LinkedIn live stream with Brian Dietmeyer. He is the CEO of CloseStrong. Welcome, Brian.
Gerhard, the only time I've heard my name pronounced that way was in Germany itself. So thank you. My
Yeah,
my father
that's
would be proud of that German pronunciation of the last name.
Dietmeyer.
Yeah.
Der Herr Dietmeyer, wie geht's?
I'm not
So
kidding. The
you,
first time I checked into a hotel in Germany and gave him my passport, and then they pulled it up and said my name, and I was like, "Oh, that's how it's supposed to sound, not like the way we pronounce it in Chicago for my whole life."
right.
So, thank
So
you
the
for
reason
that.
we are having this chat today is to talk about the Sales Transformation Summit, where you are going to deliver a keynote. And let's begin with the why. Why are you doing this? What problem are you trying to solve?
So Gerhard, I was in my past life, I was a VP of national account sales. So I have experience there. I ran a training and consulting firm for many, many years and was frustrated with a lot of the training we'd roll out. We'd meet people for 2 days and we'd sort of, cram stuff into their brain for 2 days because we were never going to see them again. And I often wondered kind of, what happened after my trainers left. And we kind of know what happened in many cases. It didn't stick. But maybe I can tell you a quick story that might resonate with other folks. Think about this. Um, this is pretty typical. We have some kind of a sales issue. Maybe it's win rate or something. And so we determine that one of the levers we're going to pull is sales training. So we choose contender selling and announce it at SKO and then roll it out. And we hit 500 people in groups of 22-day virtual or in-person events. And then what happens after that is typically very little. The pull through and the stickiness of the kind of methodology events just are not sticking, and that frustrated me. So we're trying to say how well. I should add to that. In my old practice, we also had a coaching practice, right? And at one point,
Yeah.
a Fortune 10 tech company based in Washington asked us to coach $1 billion of renewals. And that's Gerhard, that's where we felt we had massive impact. When it was Brian and Gerhard working on a $5 million renewal in a couple sessions, we had big business impact. So my question was, how can we scale that? That was not scalable for me. Like they asked us to do more and I had to add more and more consultants, and they weren't always better consultants than my original team. And it was very expensive for the client. So the whole thing was, how do we make this move from something that's easy to roll out, which is generic, slightly customized training events, methodology events, to real in context, one-to-one coaching, this deal, your value, your competitor. And so that was kind of the motivation is, and by the way, the enabler for this now is technology, which didn't exist 15 years ago when I was rolling out, or not methodology, it's technology. So
Right.
we can now do this. We can move from these generic, just in case kind of training events to just in time revenue enablement is what we call it, or on demand revenue enablement to, hey, I need to get a deal closed. Somebody coach me through this thing, some highly qualified coach who really understands my business.
So what you're saying is that in the last 10 years, the dial has not moved, that the win rate of forecasted deals has stuck at 47%, which
20,
you once
20, 20 years. One of our advisors is Jim Dickey, who a lot of folks know, and
right.
he goes
And
back to 2004. Win rate's been hovering between 46 and 47% of deals that are forecasted at the 90% level. And his
yeah,
argument is something's broken with all the billions we've thrown at American companies. Throw 26 billion at sales training, not to mention technology and CRM. Why the heck is win rate stuck where it's been stuck for almost 20 years?
so you are promising to make a difference. What actually will move the dial up from 47%?
Yeah, I mean, we know from human coaching, in fact, that it does make a difference, right? There's not only the billions of dollars we've coached, but kind of objective third party research. In fact, I just read a stat, two quick stats I'll give you. One is managers who exceed expectations on coaching, their teams are meeting their stretch goals 95% of the time. Managers who are
Wow.
not are hitting their stretch goals 47% of the time. Now, we also know that only 5% of deals in pipe are being coached. So we know it has impact. Managers don't have time to do it. The other thing that we know is that people who have a really good coaching plan to get things closed are closing at nearly, and again, this is another Jim Diggy sales mastery quote, 2x the win rate and almost 10x the deal size or deal quality. So
Wow.
there's a ton of evidence to say this works. But the problem in the past have been managers don't have time. And if you have me or someone else come in and do it, it's quite expensive for you and very difficult for me to scale. So boom, technology now allows us to do this.
So how exactly does technology make a difference without backfiring on anybody?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too, because the technology we're leveraging is we're all familiar with AI, and Gartner just put out this really cool report that says, AI is a very broad based thing, right? It addresses broad based problems and it addresses broad based solutions. And just to confuse matters, Gartner just came out with something called IA, which is intelligent applications. And intelligent applications, by the way my CTO describes it, is it's a blend of modern software peppered with AI, right? And what Gartner says about intelligent automation or intelligent applications is that they go after a very specific and widespread problem, which is win rates or getting deals coached. Managers don't have time to do it with a very precise process oriented solution. So at the highest level, that's what's available out there now in technology is intelligent applications who can do this and are very precisely built for this reason of coaching and getting deals closed.
So when I analyzed your solution, what got my attention was the pre-coaching. How do you use technology to pre-coach salespeople?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good question because some people have said, in fact, I have a friend of mine who's a consultant and a coach, and he's like, dude, are you telling me that like my career's over, that AI is going to do all this or IA? And it's not true. So 5% of the deals in pipe are being coached. And so part of the question is what's ideal? We don't want 100%. We don't want every deal coached, but let's say 60 or 70%. What's the impact if we go from 5 to 70% of deals coached? And so you mentioned pre-coached, so the AI can take it so far, and then the solution is to add or rather give a pre-coached deal to the frontline sales manager. And we were talking to a frontline sales leader a few weeks ago who kind of looked at the summary that the AI coach could build and said, holy blank, I could 3 to 5x the number of deals I coach if it came to me in this pre-coach fashion. He further went on to say said I spend half of my one-on-one downloading basic data on the deal, and it's just kind of a waste of time. So if it came and we knew it was qualified, we knew what our competitive situation was, we knew discovery had been executed, right? All of those kind of things that had been coached. And the other thing about technology that my coaches couldn't do is what we generally call in context. When I was coaching one of these tech deals, my job was to find areas of risk, stuff that the rep didn't know. And that's what a good coach does. And then I'm going to coach you to go find those things out. But I couldn't have all these different solutions of all these people I was coaching to in depth with their competitive, differentiators on that deal, given the vertical that they were selling into. We can put all that into the brain and do put all that into the brain of an AI coach. So not only do I understand the coaching process and what you need to do, I have all this data readily available in my brain to say, oh, I see, Gerhard, you're selling this solution against this competitor in this vertical. Let me pull up some data to help you differentiate given what this customer is trying to achieve.
I think there are really two factors at play as I'm thinking about what you're saying. One is AI leads to information acceleration. And in the context of coaching, it also leads to coaching acceleration, that
Yeah.
sales managers can coach salespeople faster, but also focus on what is really relevant because they have all the right information at their fingertips.
Yes. Yeah. Which it again, we can do more than the human coaches can do, but you're right. And we think what we've done with the technology is mapped out what we did in human coaching. And so the AI coaches the first couple stages, and then the human coach gets involved to say, okay, now I see where we have gaps. I see what data we need to go collect. Let me work with you to get that done. And once that's done, they go back to the AI coach to pull the rest of the deal through. So it's our CTO said at one point that we want to develop a very bespoke coaching process, and some of the team were like, nobody but the queen knows what bespoke means, but I think most people do. Right? We want it to feel like there's a super smart human where it's safe as well. This person's not going to judge you. You don't have to lie to this person, and we encourage people. The best thing you can do is look for disconfirming data. Why am I not going to win this deal? And that's easier to do in one sense with technology, to say, yeah, I'm guessing on that. I don't really know that strategic level stakeholder. I don't have access to him or her.
So, Brian, we talk about sales transformation in that summit. And obviously, this new environment with so much technology available, how does sales training transform? Is there still room for the traditional sales training, or how should revenue enablement managers and sales leaders think about sales training now?
Yeah. So it's funny you asked that question, because at the same time in the chat, someone was asking the question about, do we use specific methodology, right? And like Medic or strategic selling or somebody, and most of the customers we're talking to have a base methodology rolled out, Challenger, Medic, value selling, whatever it is. And so the coach needs to reinforce. Our argument is you don't need more training, right? Having that base methodology is good. The coach needs to be able to reference and pull through some of your investment. You may have invested 400 grand in rolling that thing out. This coach needs to then do what's not happening, which is reinforce that methodology and make sure that reps are using it. But what the other thing that's added on top of that, which is what we do, is a cadence for getting a deal closed based on closing billions of dollars, coaching billions of dollars of deals over almost 20 years. That in addition to pulling through that selling methodology, that we pick it up and then say, what is the proper cadence to take the thing from the 50-yard line to the end zone? We know what that cadence is. More importantly, what data does a rep need at each step of that cadence to get that deal closed at high quality? And so, yeah, there's selling methodology that we reinforce. And we don't really present our own methodology, but we do present a coaching cadence and present the sort of data that someone needs to compete on this specific deal that they're working on.
Right. Is there any particular recommendation that you have for creating better sales experiences for the seller, and at the same time create better buying experiences for the buyer that differentiates you?
Yeah. So let me go to the seller first. What I just saw some stats last week that sellers at the 70% level said, I do not want to fill out any more blank forms. And anybody,
Yep.
you, Gerhard, and anybody who's here watching, listening to this, a blank form is, whatever sheet you get at the end of the methodology, and you have to fill in all the
Yep.
answers. And by the way, the value is in the answers, not so much in the sheet, right? So if we can take 1,000 sellers that filled out 1,000 sheets and bring that data together for best practice. So sellers, however, don't want to fill out blank forms in CRM. They don't want to fill out blank training forms. What they've asked for is guided selling. Give me data, give me insights that help me compete. So that's what we aim to do. In fact, I often joke with our engineers that I want this T-shirt that says "No blank forms," right, with a big red slash
Right.
through it, because reps don't want blank forms. We don't want to give them blank forms. So and then in terms of buyers, it's interesting. There's one piece of evidence that we found in the past is buyers are bad at buying. by the way. They don't buy holistically. And now, as we all know, there's 6.7 buyers per buy, and there's committee buy, and it's gotten really, it's gotten really complex, and no decision is up because people are struggling with this. Part of the coaching process is not having the rep understand the buyer's maybe poor decision process, but rather leading them. This is what buyers say they want. So in the one section of coaching, they're provided with a script to go to the buyer and say, look, we've watched thousands of people buy this firewall protection software. And here's the people who should be involved. Here's the criteria that should be used when putting us and somebody else side by side. So I'm going to share with you best practices for making these very complex decisions, which is a much more prescriptive approach than saying, hey, Gerhard, let me understand your buying process. It adds no value to the customer, but being able to come in prescriptive and share best practices, that does. And buyers, another, I feel like I'm survey data crazy today, but another piece of research that came out from Jim Dickey, my favorite researcher, was that reps are the 9th places out of 10 that customers go to for insight.
Wow.
But they also said, if they had it, I'd talk to them. So I love your question. Like, we've got to help sellers sell. We've got to give them data and formats they can use quickly when they need it. Right. And then we need to have the coach providing data to the rep that they can bring to the customer that adds value. And the customers have said, oh, I'll talk to him, but don't come in and ask me what my goals are. Don't come in and ask me what my decision process is. Help me understand, not what's keeping me awake at night. This is what should keep you awake at night, and not how are you making your decision, but here is a really good prescriptive format for making decisions. And I'm not even selling my thing at that moment, right? I'm just saying, here's a good way to make decisions. Now, there's another adage out there that in today's world, the way you sell might be more important than what you sell. So there is a competitive bias to say, I'm the guy talking to Gerhard and advising Gerhard on how to make a decision on this kind of a buy.
Well, I very much look forward to your complete presentation. I have previewed it. I'm very excited about it because I believe you have found a golden key to move the forecasted deal percentage from 47% to 90% or more. And you have done it at scale, which is very impressive. So I would say, if you are a sales leader or a revenue enablement leader, sign up for the conference. There's a QR code. It is free to sign up. You get exposure to high caliber speakers like Brian. We have about 20 speakers, and it's 2 days, March 20th and 21st. And this is our antidote to the March madness. Our sales transformation is all about March gladness.
And Gerhard, I'll finish with this. For folks who do come to our session, we're going to share this best practice coaching cadence and data that we've learned over 20 years. So this isn't, we don't want this to be a commercial for our tech, but we want people to walk away and be able to say, if you want to know what best practice coaching cadence looks like, I'm going to share that with you. So people can take that away and say, hey, go do it yourself.
And Brian's website is CloseStrong.ai. Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Gerhard.